Over the last few months, we've spoken a lot about the impact auto loan delinquencies and repossessions are going to have on the used car market. And I really feel as though this impact can't be overstated. Because once it does occur in full force, it will increase the supply of used cars in the market, thus decreasing the price of used cars around the entire country. Now, at this point, we all know that vehicle loan originations are up, and the amount of money that people borrow for their car purchase is also up. In fact, it's at record highs, not only on a per vehicle basis, but also cumulatively across the country. And if you aren't completely up to speed with what's going on with loan originations, you can check out this report that was done by the Federal Reserve. And if you don't feel like reading the report, you can also check out a video that I recently did on the topic. I'll link both down in the description below. The point is, people have been buying more and more car, and they've been spending more and more money in order to do that. And this is of course due in part to the fact that the car market has been crazy, thus leading to higher prices. So if you needed a car last year, you had nearly no choice but to pay a premium for that car. But it's also due to a more limited selection from the manufacturer, and let's face it, it's also our fault as consumers as well. Americans love their cars, and many Americans, and people in general, go into a lot of debt in order to buy their dream car. And this is causing some major issues. In fact, buyers across credit profiles have been spending a record amount for their car, with the average monthly payment exceeding $500 per month across borrowers, which is much, much higher than pre-pandemic averages, which you can see here. But the thing is that over the last 1.5 years, this has been working out pretty well for the borrower. And despite the fact that people are borrowing a record amount of money, it hasn't really caused many issues. Because in 2021, the economy seemed to be booming. The job market was stronger than ever, and payment pauses and vehicle incentives across the automotive industry gave vehicle buyers a safety net, preventing them from defaulting on their pricey auto loans. But things have changed, like a lot. TransUnion, the credit reporting agency, keeps track of over 81 million auto loans in the United States alone, and they said this week that the percentage of auto loans that are at least 60 days delinquent is at 1.65% in the third quarter, which is the highest 60-day delinquency rate that we've seen in more than a decade. And the thing is, there are many different reasons as to why borrowers are becoming delinquent on their loans, and many of these reasons are things that I've discussed not only in this video, but in past videos as well, including things like inflation and cost of living, the economy, job loss, the fact that many buyers have bitten off more than they can chew and are now underwater on their cars. There are a wide variety of reasons, and they're affecting borrowers of all levels. But a massive factor that cannot be ignored is the end of COVID-era related programs that had given borrowers some reprieve with their auto loans. According to TransUnion, approximately 200,000 auto loans that previously took advantage of the pandemic-era accommodations are now listed as 60-day delinquent, and about 100,000 accounts that are more than 60-day delinquent remain in accommodation programs. So the point is that there are hundreds of thousands of people that use these COVID-era programs as a way to basically kick the can down the road. And sure, there are many people that use these COVID-era programs as a way to hold off on making auto loan payments while they either search for a new job, adjusted to COVID-19 and the pandemic, or try to get their finances and their ducks in a row. But there are many others that use these types of accommodations in order to buy a car that they simply couldn't afford, which I believe is what we're seeing here with these 200,000 vehicles that are now in delinquency status. According to Cox Automotive, auto loan delinquencies that are 60 days or more delinquent are up 30.8% year over year. Now, if you're interested in checking out that TransUnion report, I will have that link down in the description below, but there were a few things that I wanted to talk about that were mentioned by the TransUnion vice president in a CNBC interview. It was stated that higher interest rates are pressuring many consumers to stretch out the terms of their loans to at least 7 years. And the vice president of TransUnion was quoted in saying, "If we go into a position where employment starts to be a challenge in the United States and unemployment increases, that is when the industry will really start to be concerned about a consumer's ability to pay their auto loans." And this brings me to my second point, which is unemployment. Now, don't get me wrong, unemployment, at least as I sit here recording this video today, isn't a major issue, especially whenever you compare it to more major job market shifts like 2008 or 2020. In fact, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, unemployment is currently at 3.7%, when we compare that to 2020 or 2008, where it was nearing 10%. But whether or not unemployment stays this low is certainly a question that's up for debate. But that doesn't mean that there hasn't been some concerning developments in the last couple of weeks and couple of months. Just this week, Meta let go of 13% of their workforce, resulting in 11,000 people being let go. Twitter let go 50% of their workforce, resulting in 3,700 employees. Zillow let go 5% of their workforce last month, DocuSign laid off 9% in September, Redfin laid off 13%, and the list goes on and on. Now, of course, as we sit here today, most of the auto loan delinquencies that we are seeing are from subprime borrowers, meaning borrowers that don't have stellar credit or a stellar financial history. But if these layoffs continue and if they spread across multiple industries outside of tech and real estate, this could be bad news for the auto market and auto loan industry as a whole. But even though we're not seeing job loss with an immediate noticeable effect today, we're still seeing delinquency rates occur at a much faster rate than normal. When looking at delinquencies in the first 2 years after purchase, loans originated in 2021 and 2022 are starting to show higher delinquency rates relative to loans originated in previous years, even when compared to loans unaffected by pandemic-related stimulus payments. For example, auto loans originated in 2021 have a delinquency rate of 0.67% in the 6th quarter after origination, which is 13% higher than the delinquency rate of an auto loan originated in 2018. And this trend is even worse with subprime borrowers who are defaulting on their loans even faster. This is a direct quote from the TransUnion Report that I mentioned earlier, and it states that the rise in auto delinquencies is real, but it may be misleading. The number of delinquencies is growing, but largely due to the release of the backlog of likely delinquencies that were temporarily in pandemic-driven accommodations and improved consumer liquidity bolstered by other stimulus programs that have ended. And this is something that we talked about a lot on the channel. In fact, we talked about it in this video. COVID-era programs, whether auto loan or just general stimulus, helped people be able to avoid getting their cars defaulted on. And in many ways, for many people, it simply kicked the can down the road. So these auto loan delinquencies that we're seeing today aren't necessarily a reflection of the current economic outlook for car buyers, but it simply is showing what would have happened a few years ago had the government not intervened, or in some cases, if some financial institutions didn't intervene. And from an economic outlook, this is certainly a silver lining, because it means that these auto loan delinquencies may not be linked as closely to the economy as originally thought. But it's still great news from an auto market perspective, because whenever these cars go into delinquency status and they get repossessed, that will then in turn create more supply in the car market, lowering car prices. But I do believe that fuel will be added to this fire whenever car valuations continue to go down. Because if more and more people can't afford their car, either because of inflation or job loss or external factors, they then go to sell that car and realize they're underwater on that vehicle payment, I think this is going to cause a lot of issues. And there is going to be a tough decision that these borrowers have to make of either selling their car for a loss or keeping their car and putting it into delinquency status. And that is an extremely tough situation to be faced with, but it will ultimately end up leading to more and more auto delinquencies, more repossessions, and thus lower car prices because these cars will be flooding the market. But with that being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.